Princess Mononoke, the first story, written and illustrated by Hayao Miyazaki. Defeated in battle and separated from his retreating companions, a lone warrior found himself lost in the woods. Just when he had roamed so long that he had forgotten his exhaustion, the warrior came across a light in the distance. It was a house, built there to take advantage of a hollow in a large tree. There was no sign of anyone, and the house was well stocked with food. Despite himself, he began to devour the food, though it was not his to eat, and then he felt a strange presence behind him. The master of the house had returned. The house belonged to a large, terrifying wildcat Mononoke that had made his nest in these hills.
Now I'll chow down on you and all the food you ate with you.
The stunned warrior was quick to beg for his life. Please, let me live. I'll give you one of my 3 daughters to marry. The Mononoke held his blade and thought for a moment.
Just one? Well, I suppose. Don't forget your promise.
The warrior, having escaped death, was then carried aloft and brought home by the Mononoke.
Damn, you're a heavy one.
Meanwhile, at the warrior's mansion, my lord is missing? His wife, the lady of the mansion, raged furiously at the warrior's subordinates, who had lost the battle and fled to their homeland before him. Arriving at his mansion with the Mononoke, the warrior was suddenly dropped from high up in the sky.
I'll come for my bride the night of the full moon.
The warrior was caught on the tile of the broad roof. Our lord has fallen from the sky. A great commotion rose up inside the house. Ah, this is a sorry state. Blah, blah, yada, yada. He went inside and explained the situation. You lose the battle, and on top of that, you say you'll give our daughter to a beast? You spineless man. This, despite the fact at this very moment, the enemy army is bearing down on the border. The lady took the first and second princesses and immediately departed for her family home. Only the kind-hearted third princess stayed behind. The enemy army drew ever nearer to the border, and the night of the full moon approached. The demon-faced Onigawara tile from the broad roof broke through the ceiling and appeared before the desperate warrior.
Lend me your body, and I will make you a strong man.
Heedless of the third princess's pleas to stop, the warrior eagerly accepted the Onigawara's proposal, utterly ignorant of the fact that an evil spirit dwelt within. The warrior was a new man. He devoured great quantities of food and donned with ease the ancestral armor and helmet, which had previously been too heavy for him to wear. He met the advancing enemy completely alone and built a mountain of dead bodies, one tossed upon the other. The warrior had become the most terrifying warlord in the world. The warrior came to find the third princess, who knew his secret, ever more disagreeable. But removing her would be an easy task. The evil spirit knew that the Mononoke would come. Then, as promised, the Mononoke came for his bride. You're the perfect bride for the Mononoke. The warrior's gleeful voice rang out. The princess worried about her father even now, and was only reluctantly parted from him as the Mononoke urged her forward. The third princess was then carried on the back of the beast to a faraway land in the middle of nowhere. When they arrived at the cave, food had already been prepared and set out.
Now, the ceremony. Drink. Eat.
To the merry Mononoke, the princess spoke stiffly. Until I make my father human again, I cannot be your bride. The Mononoke flew into a rage at the resolute and unyielding princess.
I eat princesses who don't do what I say. Don't come out until you're done.
No matter how he threatened and cajoled her, the princess would not surrender. Finally, the Mononoke resigned himself.
Fine. What would you have me do?
Please help me. If we can drive off the evil spirit, I promise to marry you. The Mononoke agreed to the third princess's request.
Fine. Don't go forgetting your promise.
It was said that a wise turtle lived in the depths of the mountains upon mountains, and thus A different journey to discover a way to drive out the evil spirit began. The third princess pushed forward bravely, even when the Mononoke thought she could go no further. Irritated though he was by having to take care of this new burden, the Mononoke naturally grew to care for the princess. They traveled deep and dark mountain valleys. They passed through forests from the time the land was born. And finally, they encountered an enormous turtle. The wise turtle lent its ear to the third princess's tale.
It is precisely because people have desire in their hearts that the evil spirits possess them. I will give you the power to control the evil spirit for a brief period. If you are to hope for anything, it should be that even a tiny piece of your father's human heart remains. There is a treasure from ancient times sunk at the bottom of the lake. The power is within it.
The treasure, a bronze mirror, was unchanged, still emitting its light even after the long years that had passed. The enormous turtle had offered one final piece of advice to the princess after she climbed to the shore.
All the rest will be determined by the strength of your heart.
The pair thanked the turtle and then hurried to return to the princess's native village. Meanwhile, through the power of clairvoyance, the evil spirit knew that an ominous light was approaching. The third princess was overcome with surprise at the state of her homeland. It had only been a year since she had left, but the small mountain estate was now an enormous castle. The evil spirit had become hideously powerful. The sound of arms rang out, flames beating at iron-scorched earth. The resentful voices of people suffering under the dystopic regime filled the land. Soldiers were dispatched to hunt the third princess down, but the Mononoke fought hard to protect her.
Do not lay a hand on my bride.
However, backed into a corner by the guns of their pursuers, the princess and the Mononoke were forced to escape over a cliff. Despite his own injuries, the Mononoke made sure to protect the princess.
I won't insist you be my bride, but will you come back to the mountain with me?
The two of them shared something in their hearts now. After the Mononoke had fallen into a deep sleep, the princess quietly took out the mirror. In the light of the moon, the mirror showed a young boy sleeping. This was the Mononoke's true form. He was violent like a beast, and as he lived like a beast, before he knew it, the boy had turned into a beast. The third princess understood the Mononoke's sadness. But I can't keep my promise to you. I have to go to my father. Please forgive me. The third princess proceeded toward her father's castle alone. I am the daughter betrothed to a Mononoke, returning to my homeland. Open the road. At the third princess's refined manner, the vassals opened the road. Waking, the Mononoke had realized the princess was gone. He ran to the village in a panic.
Have you seen the third princess?
She went to the castle, by herself.
What?
The Mononoke ran in the direction of the castle. He forgot even to disguise himself. He flew along in a straight line, not paying the slightest heed to the stunned soldiers. At the castle, the third princess moved toward her father's place. Not a single trace of the estate she had known remained. She moved into the depths of the castle. And then father and daughter met. The daughter who went to marry a Mononoke, disobeying her father. You conceited fool. Her father had been completely overtaken by the evil spirit. Not only his heart, but even his body. Feeling the murderous impulse and hideous aura radiating from her father in the core of her being, the third princess stood and faced him.
Get out of my way!
A terrible sense of dread spurred the Mononoke. The princess held up the mirror she had kept hidden at the evil spirit, which brandished its sword and came toward her. Immediately, the spirit faltered. The third princess threw herself at her father's chest. The mirror shattered into pieces, and unable to bear it any longer, the evil spirit fled from the warrior's body. What remained was an exhausted figure of her father, his vitality sucked away. Daughter embraced father. The fleeing evil spirit moved into the nearby armor, Having drank blood and grown, the evil spirit manifested a physical body. As the spirit turned toward the father and daughter, the world-destroying flames of hell gushed out of the Iron Face's mouth. At that moment, the Mononoke came flying in. He stopped the flames with his body and, on fire from head to toe, attacked the evil spirit. The evil spirit turned to flee, the Mononoke right on his heels. The pair were enveloped in flames. Chasing after them, the third princess beheld the evil spirit burning up, and Mononoke collapsed, having exhausted his powers. Rushing to the Mononoke's side, the third princess clung to him tearfully, and then his arm moved. He was alive.
I'm the top Mononoke on the mountain. I would never die and leave my pretty wife behind.
Captivated by this girl who was his daughter, the warrior breathed his last as a human being. The people who had suffered under the dystopic regime rose up. They battered down the castle gates, and the flames spread. The castle the evil spirit had built went up in a blaze. The Mononoke set the princess on his shoulders and returned to the mountain. The end.